name is Fred Bell. I am the Vice Chairman of Palm Springs Air Museum. Now we're in another gorgeous hangar, and I was telling Silas there's a big American flag over there so he can give me the test pilot speech after that. But we're standing in front of just the most immaculate King Air I have ever seen in my life. Why don't you tell me about this one?
Sure. This is a C-12C. Huron is the Army designation for it. But you're right, it's a King Air, and it's largely the same as a civilian King Air platform. This airplane is on loan to us from the Army. We have 3 total airframes. That's part of that Army partnership that we have. The airplanes recently came back from the paint shop and with a Garmin 1000 cockpit upgrade.
I need to send our airplanes to your paint shop. Maybe we could have them do some sort of a swap. It's beautiful.
Thank you. One of the exercises we run in this airplane on the fixed wing side is one of the higher risk test points to do is single engine certification. So we'll do the minimum controllable airspeed, or VMCA. Most multi-engine pilots are used to that term, but there's very specific test techniques and build-up procedures required to do that safely. And we use this airplane to do those learning objectives, teach people how to go execute safely. Because if I intentionally shut one engine down and I'm testing the good engine, well, what do I do when that engine fails? Well, I need to start the other engine, but what happens if that doesn't happen? So you get down this risk tree in these high-risk flight tests of, well, what if this happens, and what if that happens, and what if this happens? And one of the purposes of our course in that risk mitigation pillar is do everything you can to stack the deck in your favor so that if something happens, you've got an out. And you always want to have an out. Something's not right, I'm out. We're back to safety. And that's what we do with this airplane.
Do you fly this in a pilot in command, second in command configuration, or is this a single pilot?
So although the type certificate is as a multi-piloted airplane,
right,
pilot, co-pilot, we treat it as a single pilot airplane. So we have an instructor in the right seat, we'll put the student pilot in the left seat, and we'll expect them to operate most of the systems themselves, and the instructor pilot will be there to back up and help load shed so that they're getting the most learning. But most of the aircraft that we fly here, whether they're single piloted rated or multi-pilot, we try to have a single pilot mindset. But obviously with a side-by-side crew, there's a lot of benefit, especially in some of those high-risk tests. I need my other crew member to do certain tasks.
Right.
So how do I shed these tasks in the high-risk flight test so that I can focus on what's important for me, and then maybe another parameter I don't have time to monitor, my co-pilot can take care of. So that's part of the learning process as well. Is try to get in that risk mitigation. Get the students to develop these plans that this is how I'm going to operate this high-risk flight test. This is what I want you to look at. This is what I'm going to look at. We brief our plan, and then we go fly that plan.
It's interesting, with multi-engine aircraft, I read every incident report that there is, but generally you have a situation, if it's not mechanical, sometimes you have an unrecoverable mechanical failure, but a lot of times it's crews being overwhelmed. There's just cascade failures, and they reach to a point, just what you're saying, that there's no off-ramp anymore, or they didn't think about the off-ramp.
Right.
So that's interesting that you're teaching that with a single pilot. That to me is fascinating. So this would be basically prioritizing the loss of the aircraft, or prioritizing tasks. Okay, I need to do this. I don't need to do this, 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 and this, and then I need to do. Is that what you're telling me? And then I go
part
down
of it
here
is, especially in flight tests, if I'm doing a single engine certification on an airplane, keep the main thing the main thing. And that's, if airspeed is my most critical component, I need to stay above a certain number, then that's what the pilot should be focused on. The co-pilot can focus on other parameters, as long as the pilot is focused on the main thing. Or I've got a test engineer, or someone in the back that's running a crew station, or someone in a control room that's running a crew station. I can task shed some of those parameters so that the person closest to the risk is focused on what the highest priority or highest threat is.
That's fascinating. Again, what a just immaculate airplane. This thing it's really cool. We're standing in front of what I call the big kahuna, right? The Super Hornet. I do love this airplane. I love it. How long has this one been at the school, and what are you teaching it? You already told me the tail slide, which I got to see that. But tell me what you do with this airplane.
So the 3 Super Hornets that we have are F models, which is the 2-seat Super Hornet. They are probably the oldest Super Hornets in the Navy right now. They're low-rate initial production aircraft. They've got the APG-73 mechanical scan radar. We've got provisions for the AT FLIR, which is a tactical targeting pod that we're still using in the fleet today. And the cockpits are configured in a trainer configuration, which means they've got a stick and a throttle in both cockpits, whereas the fleet 2-seaters are generally configured with side stick controllers for a mission system operator. We use this aircraft in both the fixed wing pilot and the fixed wing engineer and NFO syllabus for systems, but everything from air-to-air radar, air-to-ground radar, targeting pods, augmented flight controls is a big one, and we've got telemetry in the aircraft. So we saw the telemetry room earlier. We're going to start sending data from the aircraft down into the room for some of those high dynamic flights, like the augmented flight control, where we ask the students to tell me what the flight controls are doing based on what you're asking. Remember, there's no mechanical cables or any push rods or anything between the stick and the cockpit to any of these control surfaces. I've got 12 flight control surfaces on this airplane, but I've only got the traditional stick and pedals. So when I make an input, I'm asking the aircraft for a certain response. If I'm at high speed, I'm generally asking for G. As I transition to low speed, I'm asking for angle of attack as I get into the slow speed, high AOA maneuvering. And the airplane does it automatically. It does it very well. Our flight control logic from the legacy Hornet that first flew in 1979 into the Super Hornet in the early 2000s, it's just an incremental step. We got better. We learned a lot in those first 20 years, and we applied that into the Super Hornet. It's got great high AOA handling characteristics. Its departure resistance is phenomenal. And if you do get the airplane to depart, which we do intentionally, as long as you let go of the controls, the flight control computers will take care of you, and they'll recover the airplane.
That's staggering when you think about that. That basically you could just, okay, get me home, take me back to a safe place, and it'll do it every time.
Every time.
Wow.
It's robust. It's predictable. We do it again with the risk mitigation mindset. We do it at high altitude. So if there is a failure, or if one of the engines has an issue, then we have time and altitude to take care of it. But in the 6 total years that I've done departure flights in this airplane, I've had 0 instances of an engine problem. It's always recovered on time. Very few surprises, which is what you want for a platform in the fleet.
Does the aircraft have, it's got twin engines, any thrust imbalance issues, single engine handling characteristics?
There is a minimum controllable speed. We have had some single engine failure mishaps over the lifespan of the aircraft, but we try to put in system safety and procedure training for the fleet operators to help mitigate that.
And the folks that you're training, we have to talk about, they're doing things that haven't been invented yet, but they're going to be people that go out and build the 5th or the 6th generation airplane, or modify the 5th or the 6th generation airplane, which is kind of cool because, we go back to Top Gun where they're talking about flying against, these superior aircraft, and the Hornet, can't do it. But in a way, the Hornet is just a platform to wherever we're headed with that 5th generation airframe.
And since the beginning, F-18 has been a very incremental type design. That the ability, I mentioned the mechanical scan radar. Our fleet aircraft have electronically scanned radars now. The sensor packages on board are unlike anything that we have, and the capabilities are just continue to grow. And it's modular enough that you can do software updates, you can do hardware updates throughout a long lifespan.
So this airplane is going to be with the fleet for the foreseeable future, I would think.
Yeah, so we're currently flying F-18 Super Hornets, and a lot of the air wings are Super Hornet only, whether it's single-seat Super Hornet, 2-seat Super Hornet, or the Growler version, which is our airborne electronic attack variant. Some of the carrier air wings are only F-18 variants. We're starting to integrate more F-35s onto the ship, and as that platform starts to go, something else will come along in the future to start phasing out F-18.
We actually talked to a Growler crew, Moonburn and Princess, and really learned a lot about the airplane and about what they do. And I thought that they would be up in the thick of the fight, but they say no, they kind of hang back, or they're in a place where they can do whatever they got to do to suppress everything, and they're not like turning and burning in there.
That's a high value asset, and they've got a very particular mission set. And if that's the same Moonburn I'm thinking of, he's a graduate of this course.
Really?
I want to say he's class 156 or 8.
There you go. In terms of these aircraft being in your inventory, they're here for long term?
For the foreseeable future, we don't have any plans to replace the F-18F. So on the F-35 side, there's no two-seat airplanes as trainers. So we'll be relying on this for some our fourth generation advanced topics for a while.
Fascinating. Well, I want to thank you for taking me around today. Great job. I mean,
It's been my absolute pleasure to do this.
I'm in awe. As I said, we're just dripping in history here. There's so much stuff here. We hope you enjoyed the segment of videos. We'll do a couple more here in the future. Thank you so much. Today, though, we have one last thing to do, Greg. Okay, Silas, now we're at the test pilot school, and there's one thing that we do in Warbird Wednesday that you're a test pilot. So we figured that, and I've never done this, so this is very difficult for me to do, is to give up or share the tasting options of the tasty beverage that Greg Kenny has selected. Now, the deal is there has to be 2 sips of whatever this is. You cannot spit it out, all right? So as a test pilot, you are testing the soda. I assure you that there's probably about a 80% chance that there is no illicit bacteria in here, and you won't be, we won't be taking you to the hospital. But I can't guarantee it. Some of the stuff that Greg buys, you never know, there might be botulism there, and Silas is like, what are you doing to me? So today, in honor of Silas, we have chosen, or Greg has actually chosen, he picks this out. I don't know what it is. This was, by the way, flown all the way from California for you, just for you. Radioactive soda. Now, radioactive soda, it's a mulberry flavor. That's intriguing. Pure cane sugar. There is a pure cane sugar mafia that forces these guys to all put pure cane sugar on their label. 170 calories, 0 fat. So that's positive. And you're an active guy, so you should burn it off. 170 calories is normally in the band, isn't it, Greg? Yeah, Greg's like looking at it. All right, now, this manufacturer, I know these guys, Rocket Fizz Soda. This should be particularly frightening. It's like, yeah, thanks, Red. All right, so Silas, I am, for the first time in 138 episodes, I am splitting the duty with the test pilot, the head of the test pilots, now we're going to, look at that. Look, there actually is fizz. So that's actually a good sign. No fizz means your botulism potential goes up quite a bit. All right, and here we go. We'll get that off of that. So thank you for the tour today. Magnificent. And it has to be 2 sips, or you just shoot it, I guess. But
thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Actually, that's not bad. We agree. The testers agree. It's actually not terrible. So that's pretty good. And we did, here, there's more. You can have more if you want. Okay. Yeah, there you go. We did a remove before flight shot glasses, which we will leave behind for you as a memento of our visit that I'm sure you will cherish for the rest of your life. So thank you very much.
I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure to show you around.
Thank you. And to those of you at Warbird Wednesday, remember, if you came across us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and a subscription. We could use that if you can get past the fact that we do nothing but long-form aviation, military aviation videos. Facebook, give us a like and a comment. Sometimes, especially with Silas, we're going to send him all the comments here, so we'll see what comments you may have. My name is Fred Bell. I am the Vice Chairman of the Palm Springs Air Museum. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.